Welcome to Better Credit, Better Home. Your source for the latest local and national news that can impact you if you are in the market for real estate. Here are your hosts, the Kingwood mortgage guy, Mike Durr, who uses his 25 years as a mortgage professional to help people improve their credit, and Joe Solas, an accomplished home inspector, real estate agent, and trainer of new agents for Jane Byrd Properties International. Together, they will help you understand what you need to know to get the most out of your real estate investment. Let's get started.
Let's get started.
Let's
Wow.
do it, Mike.
That was way hard.
Hey, the juice is worth the squeeze, Mike. The juice is worth the squeeze.
That's great. So I'm getting a little bit of an echo, and I'm not sure.
It might be my side, but I don't have any headphones, so we'll have to play it.
Well, gosh, I think we did it for about a year without headphones, so I don't know why these are mandatory now. Let me try something here.
Is that better?
Well, let's see.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, that sounds better.
Okay.
But I'm still echoing myself. I've got these buttons here. I'm gonna try them.
Okay.
StreamYard. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
But I can't hear you. So.
Oh man.
I got you back now.
Okay, good.
Now I got you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, maybe that was it.
Oh, let's keep our fingers crossed.
All right. So took a different tack today. Oh my gosh, it's killing me. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll try that. Anyway, we're going to try something a little different. The subject today, if you looked at it, was why buy a home now? All right. I mean, that's what I'm thinking about, and I came up with some reasons to buy. As a matter of fact, I came up with 6 reasons to buy. I thought it'd be a good idea, since you are the realtor and the inspector and on that side of it. Let's talk about reasons to buy. What are some reasons that you can think of right off the top of your head that might be meaningful to the people listening?
Obviously you get into the conversation of it's almost a business decision, right? So you're thinking about an appreciation. You're thinking about building equity and leveraging assets. Stability could probably be something that you're looking at. And just to let you know, I'm reading your. You're probably like, damn, Joe, you're really good.
You're
no, Mike,
good,
I'm reading your presentation. I can't do you like that, Mike. I can't do you.
Well, these are things that I came up with. I came up with the ideas, and then I was thinking, okay, I'm going to look it up. And the same things that I looked up that other people were talking about is why you buy a house doesn't really affect the interest rate. The interest rates aren't a factor in this stuff. And so that's why I thought it'd be important for us to talk about them. And what we're going to do is we're going to go over them one by one. But first, we're going to do some humor. what I think is humor anyway. So let's go. Let's see. I'll go through that. That's what you were looking at, you dirty dog. I was going, man, he's good. All right. This is still New Year's humor, basically, because the biggest thing that most people want to do is they want to lose weight in the new year, right? Not everybody, but most everybody. And I saw this, and I thought it was pretty funny. So I put my scale in the bathroom corner, and that's where the little liar will stay until it apologizes. And then you see the sad face on the scale. All right. Well, that's my version of humor today. But let's get into it. Why buy now? Well, the first one that was mentioned was pride of ownership. And that includes things like keeping the house in order, top-notch condition. I mean, some people take this to a level that is beyond what some do. And then some take it the other level and they don't take care of their house at all.
Yeah.
But consistently improving the property is a smart thing because it gains in value. It also... And I tell you, I took some some steps into an area where I probably shouldn't later on in this thing, but represents stability, represents independence. I mean, one of the things you can do at a house that you own, you can fix it up, you can paint it purple, you can add all kinds of things. And this is one I thought was kind of funny. A major milestone in your journey into adulthood. Also, when you're buying a home, it shows that you've got some financial strength. I mean, they don't just lend money to everybody. You've got to have some representation of income stability, and you've got to have, generally, you've got to have some money. I mean, the loans today don't, well, you still have to have money. I mean, in almost every case. And then the other thing I put on there was sense of belonging in your community. So what did I miss?
I think that's about right. I think one of the things that I'm going to mention here, just being Inspector Joe, is that the way I put it to clients that I work with, especially doing a new home inspection or a pre-owned home inspection as they're purchasing a home, is just remember a house is a whole lot different from a car. A lot of times you don't know something's wrong in your car until the check engine light comes on, right? Because there's systems that are working that are going to alert you prior to catastrophic events. In houses, it's not the same, really. You don't get a check engine light or check adit light. So, I definitely would offer my services. But what I tell my clients in owning a home and being prideful of owning it or understanding it a little bit is to go around and take a look at some of the things that you got a previous inspection report when you bought it, some of the items that we're looking at, and then also going up in your attic at least twice a year is helpful to kind of mitigate some of the things that can happen before catastrophic failures or events. Yeah.
Joe, that'd be a great list to have. Would you put together a list for us to pass on to people? That could be something that, I mean, I can tell you, I haven't been up in my attic twice a year. Probably, well, I've lived in my house a long time. I've been up there a couple times, a handful of times, but twice a year makes sense just so you can see what's going on up there.
Yep.
And there are probably a half dozen other things that I should be doing that I'm not, because I'm just kind of, when I go home, I'm home. I just chill. And then on the weekend, Sandy gives me odd jobs. So.
Honeydew.
All right, so that's good. All right, I like the idea of the lawnmower in this picture too. Just I thought it made sense. Is that's just one of the things that God puts on earth for us to have is grass, and we got to keep it cut. It just keeps coming back every time. There's probably jobs like that we have to do a couple times a year or two. So the big one, and it was the first one you mentioned, it wasn't first on my list, but you thought of this, is the home appreciation. And what I did on this one is I put two different slides on here that have these graphs. And the reason I like both of them is because if you look at this, the scale goes from 0% to 20%. And then this goes back to 2019. Well, 2019, that's 3 or 4 years ago. And you can see that for 2019, 2020, and most of 2021, we were below 5% appreciation. And I can tell you, when we look at the other slide that goes back much further than that, 4% appreciation is fantastic. 2-3% appreciation, that was the standard by which all things were measured. And then when you look at it, when we get to probably the latter part of 2020, and the appreciation goes up to past 10%, past 15%, up to 20%, I mean, that is ridiculous. And then for all of January, we'll start January 22, over 20% at some point in time, and then it kind of settled back down to, gosh, it's still more than 15%. Can that really be true?
Year over year for this year, I think through 2022, at least half of 2022, I think that's right. I think this year, into January, I don't feel like appreciative growth on value of homes is anywhere over 10%. I feel it's more closer to 5, between 3 and 6.
So it would be consistent to say that it's back to what it was in the early, a couple years ago, 3 or 4 years ago.
I do believe it's closer to where it was a few years ago. Obviously, we're dealing with some inventory shortage in certain locations and certain areas that could potentially, like the Woodlands area, very few new listings are coming about. So you can still see the appreciative value going up a little bit more than what the average would be.
Okay, well, I think this next slide will show a even different look at this. This goes back to 2005, and this is kind of an interesting time because we had the crash between, well, it probably started in 6, um, got legs in 7, and in 2008 it just kind of bottomed out. But even if you look at this now, keep in mind, and I do this, and I've got my mouse, I'm pointing to it, but you guys can't see it. I figured that out. So on the left side is the bottom line here is 20%, then up 15, 10%, 5%, and about right in the middle is 0%. So there was zero appreciation, it looks like, from 2007 to, gosh, 2011, maybe even 2012. So what 2012 is about right in the middle of the screen, but from the 2012, you can see that appreciation went up to 10% and then it dropped back down to 5%. And then again, the same thing that we looked at in that other slide. So if you were thinking about investing in something, and this is what I wanted to kind of get across, is it's almost like a future cast. Like, I worry when I get up in the morning what I'm going to do in the next 30 minutes. I'm going to go down and get a coffee, or I may work out, I may do this, that, the other. But what I want to take people's mind a little bit, and I want them to look out not only a year or two, but 5 years or 6 years or maybe even 10 years to see where they might be financially. And if they were going to invest in something, what would they invest in? Well, I mean, some examples would be maybe you'd invest in gold or you might invest in a 401k. But for sure, you would probably be there's wisdom in investing in a place to stay, a home.
I agree.
So I think that even with, and I've got some really good news at the end for interest rates, I think this home appreciation thing, particularly with the history that we've had, is, well, I'll take it back even further. I always like to go back to my first house. I've told the story before. I'm going to tell it again. This was in 1978. Sandy and I had just gotten married. We're buying a little house. It was a 1,400 square foot frame house in San Antonio. Nice little community called Alamo Heights. The price of the home was $37,500. That really dates me. I know that does. But I told Sandy, I remember this like it was yesterday. I said, Sandy, we are never going to be able to sell this house for what we paid for it. We paid too much. And as the story goes, we lived there for 6 years and we sold it for $75,000. That house today, and I feel like a real idiot that I sold the darn thing, it's now worth probably closer to 400,000 than it is anything else. So it's grown in value over 10 times. And that's just what real estate does. It may be more than that, to be honest with you, because that Alamo Heights is a great little area in San Antonio.
Yeah.
But that's, I can tell you another example, kind of the same thing, but I just think it's worth telling anybody that will listen that doesn't see that and might even have trouble looking out 5 or 10 years, that real estate continually appreciates. It's just, it has since for a long time anyway, longer than I've probably even been alive. So that's what I say about that. So another reason why you might buy now is there are favorable tax advantages. You get mortgage interest deduction on your taxes on your income. You get property tax deductions on your income. You get capital gain on the sale of property. Now, what do you know about that? Do you know anything about the capital gain on sale of property?
As long as you're not over a certain amount, depending on if you're single or married, you won't get taxed in it. As long as you've lived in the house for a certain amount of years, and as long if you're single, I think it's $250. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can make that in profit, and if you're married, it's 500. Right?
I think that's exactly right. And I was looking to get confirmation on that, and I honestly couldn't find it. The only thing that I found was if you lived in the home for at least 2 of the last 5 years,
Yeah.
you'd be able to avoid the capital gains tax. And that doesn't mean that you have to live. I mean, you could live there sporadically, but they wanted you to kind of be there towards the end when you sell it. The other little thing that I thought was reasonable as far as some of the tax advantages is you get a homestead exemption if it's your primary residence. So you get a reduction on the amount of the local realty tax that you would pay. And I love, do you know what I mean, or have you ever heard the term a twofer?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I've heard it, but
I'm not going to get too
I'm
far up.
interested in.
Well, to me, a twofer is when you are doing one thing and you can tie in something else and you get multiple benefits from doing the same thing you're doing. Again, an example for me is I'm riding my exercise bike and I may be listening to some educational or spiritual thing where I'm not only training my body, but I'm training and I'm taking some lessons in my brain. That's an
Super
example
cool.
of a
Yeah.
twofer. All right.
Yeah.
So in this home buying thing, it's more than a twofer. It's better than that because you're investing in something that has a high probability that it's going to improve in value. And you also have the ability you have direct hands on the ability to improve that property. So there you go. That's a threefer. And with the taxes, well, I won't even go. You know where I'm going with that. But anyway, this is the thing. It occurred to me that why people aren't buying right now. And we're going to talk about some reasons probably next week on why not to buy a house, but it's usually very personal. Right now, there is every reason we need to remind people the reason that people buy houses right now is because it's a great investment, even if the interest rates are, oh my gosh, they might be 5.99 today. That's pretty good, isn't it? That's a
That's
lead
super
into
good.
later.
Are we in the fives? Is that what it is?
Today was 5.99 on
Beautiful.
a conventional loan and actually in an FHA too. So why buy now? Equity increase. The difference between what you owe and what the property is worth. And this is the right side of this slide shows the appreciation. I got this out of something I must have been I'm looking for. I forget exactly. It was probably CoreLogic had something about how the appreciation might go over 2022, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. So I built this graph on the left side and used the same number that was in the right side graph. And I used a mortgage calculator, which I'll have to show you one of these times, as to not only the equity and the downward trend of the loan as you're making your payments year over year. So this is assuming that you're making the regular payment, you're not paying anything extra, but in 2023, you bought the house in 2023, it's 360,000, you've got $18,000 worth of equity because you paid 5% down, right? But in 2024 you actually paid the loan down and now your loan balance is 339, 356. And you can see as it goes down, you're not paying a lot down, but at the same time that you're paying the thing down, the value of the property, the appreciation is taking you up. And after, what was that, 6 years, you've got $132,000 in equity. And that's using this graph. Now, obviously my disclaimer is this is going to change based on the house you buy. It could be better, it could be worse, but this is the way that equity increase works. I thought it was a pretty good slide.
That is a really good slide, actually.
And so this is a little side point right here. If you wanted to find out what your house might be worth today, call Joe Solas. His number is right there on the screen. It's 346-224-4224. How'd you get a good number like that, Joe? That's a great number.
You can actually, when you call AT&T to get a new line, you can sit there and ask for new numbers for her to tell you another number and tell you another number and tell you another number. So that was that's what I did for this one. My previous number, Mike, you're gonna get a kick out of this: 979-575-8998. So each individual section is like my last name, where it was backwards and forwards was the same thing.
That's good. All right, this is a big one. Why buy now? stability and security. And this is where I got a little bit edgy right here. But people want to buy in neighborhoods that have less crime. That's pretty easy and standard. People also prefer a community that has quality school districts because most of the people have a tendency, not all, but most of them are married and they have kids or they're going to have kids. Now, this is where I got a little on the edge. People that can afford to buy a home are less likely to commit crimes. That makes sense. Guess what? You don't need to be a criminal if you've got a job. In most cases, I say that. That's probably not true 100% of the time, but you just expect that if somebody's working, they're not a criminal on the side. I'm stepping out. But and I think I stopped short of where I was going to ask next one. But where would you feel comfortable leaving your wife and children home alone? Like an example would be that I'd go on a business trip and my wife and my children are going to stay behind. Where do I want them to be safe at? And I'm thinking that in a neighborhood that has other people that have made the commitment, have saved the money, have paid their mortgage on a consistent basis. And that's not to say that everybody has that's in a residential community, but that is one of the things that as adults we think about. And stability and security is particularly important. And I heard something that recently that there are more women that are buying houses by themselves than have ever done that before. Have you heard that?
Amen. No, I haven't heard that, but that's awesome.
I thought that was good information there.
Yeah. As a note, Mike, I know if anybody's watching, and if they contact a realtor, if they contact me, and I get this quite often, so I wanted to make a little comment here on the crime information. Myself as a realtor and pretty much other realtors are going to be a little bit hesitant to tell you anything about a neighborhood being good or not good in regards to the crime, because there is something called steering that we try not to partake in. We don't want to steer a client to a neighborhood or away from a neighborhood, but we would be able to provide some recommendations for some websites for them to look up that information on the crime.
So I was aware of that, and I'm not. I mean, I guess steering somebody away from a crime-ridden neighborhood is something you're not supposed to do. But if somebody wants to call me, I'll tell them that same thing. Okay? I'm not bound.
No, I'll give them the Google websites that they can check. Believe me, because I think obviously my job for any client, both on the inspection side and on the real estate sales side, is to give them as much information as I can and allow them to make educated decisions. So if that's something that they're interested in making their decisions, then I'd be able to give them a couple pointers as to websites. But I can't rank a neighborhood as good or not good because of crime or because of anything else I know about it that would be considered steering. So just want to give everybody a heads up. But it is an important aspect of a neighborhood. Obviously schools, those are important, and then median income. Some information about demographics, those are all available, and I would be able to help point out where to go to get that information.
Good. Yeah, I've had that conversation before, so I knew it was going to be a stopping point. So anyway, but this is a big one for me. Why buy now? Why buy now? Well, this makes it a fiver or whatever it is, but leverage. I think leverage is one of the bigger reasons to buy a house, and simply put, leverage is using borrowed money to invest. And when you say that, you think, oh my gosh, using borrowed money to invest, that sounds scary or dangerous or risky, all those things. But you can borrow to invest in anything if you have excellent credit. I mean, you could borrow. I mean, we do that on vehicles because of the cost of them, and we pay them over time. But borrowing allows individuals and businesses to make investments that otherwise might be out of reach if you couldn't do that leverage. But I like to use this particular example, and I've got the picture of the home there. And let's say that home is let's say it's a $200,000 home to make it easy. So we got a $200,000 home. Well, I don't have $200,000 cash to go pay for that home, but with a little bit of money, let's say $10,000, I can leverage it put the $10,000 down, and I get all the benefits of having the $200,000 property, which is the same thing that I would do. Is I would go in and fix it up and try to make it worth $220,000. And then if I lived there a short time and paid it down a little bit, I lived there 4 or 5 years, I let it appreciate. And then I've sold a property with the $10,000 I had down, and I would get back an abundance of money for my investment. And when you're leveraging on property, something that is, you've had a good realtor go out and show you great houses in great neighborhoods that have good school districts, all of a sudden the mistakes are very limited, particularly if you have a good inspector that's inspected the home. So that is one of the key reasons why buying right now is such a good idea, because you can leverage the money and you're using a little bit of money to get the value of something big.
I agree. What's funny, Mike, is in residential sales and residential real estate, you don't hear leverage talked about as much as you do on the business side of things, on the commercial side of things. Leveraging and using that borrowed power is seldomly talked about on the residential side, but it is absolutely the truth. It is something that is a tool for growth, right?
Where you do hear about it is you hear about it with investment property.
Exactly.
And that's a conversation that we might have at a different time, but it's the same thing for your primary residence. And it also just makes it easy. When banks lend on a property, they lend because it's good collateral. They're very comfortable that that property, they're going to get some of their money back. That's why the standard rule is that they'll give you 80% for just about anything, because they know that they can sell it at a discount and get their money back.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that's one of those things that we didn't, or I don't think people are really thinking about. And I hope this message gets out to a lot of people, because leverage is a key reason why real estate is such a good opportunity right now. So find out how much your home is worth. We talked about this before. Do you have equity? Do you even know how much it is? Well, Joe Solas can help you discover how much your home is worth. Then you can decide what your options are. And Joe will do an intensive comparative market analysis for you at no charge. Now, if you're looking to get money out of your property, Texas rules are kind of weird, a little different. You can call me on that information. But as far as finding out what the value of your property is, whether you want to sell it or you want to get some cash out on it, Joe Solas is the guy.
Thank you, Mike.
Today's mortgage rates, these are real. This is, I was kind of holding this to the end.
Let's do it.
30-year conventional rate. This does include a 740 FICO score. 5.99 today. Now they were down there maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then they went up a little bit. Not too bad. 15-year fix, not in real big demand, but it's out there. 5.375. And then the FHA is 5.875. And again, these are all with good credit scores. Just, I mean, 5 anything right now looks really good. I mean, considering we were at 7% less than 30 days ago.
We were like 7.25, 7.35 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And there's indications that there's strength behind this. For when mortgage bonds go up, rates go down. That's an interesting kind of deal. But we get excited. I'm not sure I should even tell you this, but bad news makes people take their money out of the stock market and put it in the bond market. And when the bond market goes up, that's good news for rates. So I don't want anybody to have any bad news. I don't want any kind of disaster across the United States or wars or anything like that, but I do want rates to go down. I don't know if they're the same thing. I also put this on there. We've talked about this a handful of times. Date the rate, marry the home. This only talks about a situation where you can go out right now. Home prices are down. Joe, you agree that home prices are down right now. and you can get a deal on some houses. You'll get concessions. You might get some closing costs. There are people out there that have homes that are nice homes that maybe they're overpriced a little bit. And right now they're, once they get about, what's the time frame when they start thinking about lowering the price? What's the time frame?
Depends on the seller, but usually after 3 weeks, if I'm listing the home and it hasn't sold, I'm really, really pushing the seller to lower the price and reconsider where the market is. Because if it sets for longer, in my opinion, if it sets for longer than 2 weeks, we missed the mark.
Yeah. I think that's right. So there are a lot of people out there that was very ambitious at what they wanted to price it to be. I understand it. The market was up. They wanted to take advantage of it. But all the things, I mean, all of a sudden this market has changed. Of course, it was kind of a dead heat of the probably the worst time of the year to buy a house. But anyway, it's one of my favorite lenders. They will guarantee that they will service the loan for at least 5 years. So why is that important? Because they're giving you 5 years to do a very quick and easy refinance. If rates go lower and you want to refinance, which is what everybody anticipates happening, then this company will provide a $600 credit towards your appraisal, which pretty much covers at least 90% of that. They will cover a substantial part of the title company costs, and they will allow the escrows to be netted. And what that means is that they'll take your escrows, that if you have an escrow account, they'll take those and just slide them over to your new mortgage, or they'll take them out of the payoff. And it just makes it real easy. This means you do not have to rebuild the escrow account, saving you a ton of money on the refinance. It probably cuts half of the cost of refinancing out of the picture.
Right, because your cash to close would be reduced, right?
Oh yeah, dramatically.
Yeah,
And when we were refinancing hand over fist, when rates went down, it was a $5,000 bill to refinance, mainly because of the title. Title company costs make up about half that cost. These guys are willing to cover a big portion of the title company expense because they are the same company that you got title insurance with when you bought it. That's why it allows them to do that. They're thinking really, they're very forward thinking. They're a good company. Bottom line, the cost of refinance has reduced dramatically. This is something a lot of people don't know about refinancing. When you refinance, you get to take off at least 1 month of your mortgage payment, sometimes 2 months of your mortgage payment. The reason we do that, and the reason we bring it up, is the cost of the refinance can be, particularly with doing this deal, that 1 month that you take off, the mortgage is paid for. I mean, the cost of the refinance is paid for. So it doesn't cost you anything. And I don't want to lead anybody to say that the costs aren't real, but that's just the way it works. You get to take a month or two off making your mortgage payment. That saves you a lot of money. So I won't hammer about that, but I will tell you, if you want to find out more information about that, call me at 281-348-9899. I'd love to talk to you. And that is all I have got today, Joe. And I know we got started a little bit late, but I think it was worth it. And I want to get your opinion on what you think about the way that we're doing it. A little different than we did last year. Is it better? Is it worse? Is it the same?
Hey, Mike, I really just love being here and talking with you about real estate. I think this new format is a little easier for people to follow. I think it's a little bit more succinct, and I actually enjoy it. As for me, though, I got a nice little announcement.
Okay.
I got these magnets in.
Oh,
So
awesome.
if your refrigerator is lacking a magnet out there, people that are watching that, definitely give me a call and I can send you one. Mike, when I see you next time, I know that you like looking at my face, so I'll give you one next time. I'll give you the one next time too. Maybe you can put it inside the freezer, and then it'll scare you away from eating any ice cream or anything.
Okay. Well, I don't mean to one up you, Joe.
Oh, shoot. What do you got?
Let me do this here. Hold on a second. I'm gonna take this out. All right. See, let's see. You see what this is?
Oh, what is that?
You see what that is?
Yeah, that looks like a Wendy's.
It's a Wendy's.
Frosty.
And with this little Wendy's Frosty thing, you get for all of 2023 a Frosty anytime you go there.
You son of a gun. You did.
And I am giving these out to anybody who wants them. I have
Save one for me, man.
I have a few. So I'd
Save
love to
one
give
for
these
me.
out. And this is a twofer because the guys at Wendy's that are supporting some nice charities with that, and that's where that money goes.
Awesome.
So anyway, awesome stuff, Joe.
Yeah, man.
Look forward to. Let's see. What am I getting? And we're out of here. Let's see if this works.
Thanks for listening to Better Credit, Better Home. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. If you're looking for a great mortgage professional, reach out to Mike at KingwoodMortgageGuys.com. Or if you're looking for a home inspector or awesome realtor, reach out to Joe Solas with Jane Byrd Properties International.
It's fun as always, Mike. I'll see you next week.
Okay, buddy. Thank you.
All right.